And that girl's been training with them since she was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And
which was the last time you would have had a chance to beat her in a match, when she was 10.
Well, okay.
See, now he's not red from sunburn, he's red from anger.
That's not true.
This is Justin Lesko, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer.
Welcome to That Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. So we're recording this episode on Thursday, which is a little bit later in the week than I typically care to record, but somebody had to go on a luxurious vacation all week and was not available.
Yeah, and by luxurious vacation, you mean one night at the Jersey Shore. Lifestyles of the rich and famous over here.
Like, just because you're jet setting all over the place and don't want to talk jiu-jitsu with your buddy.
And by jet setting, you mean sitting in 3 hours worth of traffic to get down to the beach yesterday at 2 o'clock and leave this morning at 10 o'clock. Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, if you're only listening to the audio and you're not watching the video, you do look a little tan and you got the scruff. Like, you got a little thing going.
The scruff is just a result of not having to be in work for the past 2 weeks. No. I don't think the tan is a lighting issue, and maybe the bronzer that I put on prior to this show.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about last weekend. There was the Overtime Shoutout on Fight Pass, and we don't have to break down the matches necessarily, but do you like that kind of not a standard jiu-jitsu show where if you didn't watch the show, it wasn't just straight matches. There was a few special straight matches, but it was the Eddie Bravo Invitational overtime rules, guys starting on the back, and the winner was determined on escape time if there was no submissions, and it wasn't a standard show. Do you like that? Do you think that's good for jiu-jitsu?
I mean, pros and cons. If you're looking at it, it's like a specific rule set. I don't think it's indicative of somebody's jiu-jitsu skills, overall skill set. It's more exciting. It gives, the people watching a definitive outcome. If you don't get the sub, they end up going, for what? Fastest escape times.
Yeah, fastest escape time. See, I liked it in the sense of, like, I wouldn't want every tournament to be that way, but it was a fun change of pace.
Yeah, it changes it up. It's like, add some flavor to it. I agree. Again, I don't think it's indicative of you can train for that particular rule set, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best grappler in the world. You're just very good in that rule set.
Yeah, I mean it's one part of a jiu-jitsu match. So for me, it's almost like I would like to watch a judo tournament because that one part of a jiu-jitsu match is still fun to watch, but I'd prefer to watch a full match with all of the elements combined. But I thought it was a cool idea that they put on. I'm sure they'll do more of them.
Yeah, and this is, again, it's more entertaining. I've always been a fan of the EBIs. I like even the submission underground, although I don't really like that the submission underground is only 5 minutes. But
yeah.
I like that. I like these overtime rules. During a couple of the in-house tournaments at Revolution, they kind of went this route. I remember Brian White kind of overseeing that and putting in the EBI overtime rules.
We haven't mentioned Brian White in a few episodes, so should we make fun of him for a few minutes before we move on?
Yeah, let's do it. Fucking nerd.
All right, so we talked about how it's part of a good tournament. If you were building a tournament yourself, what's the rule set you go with, and how do you make the ideal Mike Callahan tournament?
I'm a jiu-jitsu fan, so I like the standard jiu-jitsu, IBJJF competitions. Like I enjoy watching those. With that being said, I understand that there's a lot of discretion involved in those tournaments when it comes to the referee. I think that by adding some type of stipulation like an EBI overtime, it kind of takes the discretion out of the referee's hands. So maybe like a hybrid between that where there are points, and then if the if there's, I think the advantages are a little. That's where the discretion comes in, right?
Yeah, I don't like advantages. I don't care for it.
Maybe just a points-based system without advantages, and in the event of a tie, there is some type of overtime stipulation.
I like the EBI overtime rules because even if there's no submission in the overtime, there's going to be a winner based on the escape time.
Yep.
And like you said, it does give closure to the match, and it's not closure based on, 3 people picked one person to win,
right.
and there's no opinion. No matter what the rule set is, people are going to find a way to game the rules. If you are good at the EBI overtime, you could stall the whole match until you get to the EBI overtime. If you're a good wrestler in a jiu-jitsu tournament, you can hit a quick double leg, get a takedown, ride your 2 points out, and win on point. Like, there's always going to be a way to game the system. There's no perfect way to do a tournament. And like Mason kind of touched on it on our last episode where, there's guys, if you do, people who say like, oh, we'll do sub only, no time limit, that's the most pure form. Well, I mean, I have really good cardio. I could just ride you out for 30 minutes until you're tired. That doesn't mean I'm better at jiu-jitsu than you, even though I am.
Just okay. Well, let's just stipulate to everybody who's listening or watching that he wasn't speaking directly to me there. He was just throwing that out there hypothetically.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's not riding shit for 30 minutes. Let's just.
I was going to say something that I would have to edit out, so we'll just move on from it. But you know what I mean? Like, there's...
Yeah.
You can game every rule.
Do you remember a couple... But, like, that's what's impressive about these guys who can win ADCC and then also win, like, IBJJF tournaments. Like, I know Gordon Ryan's the most recent example. He won double gold in Nogi Worlds a couple of years ago, and he's won ADCC twice in his weight class and once in the open class. Like, that's really impressive when guys are kind of able to their talent transcends all rule sets.
I don't think if you look at someone who has just won IBJJF Worlds that they're the best in the world, and if someone has just won ADCC that they're the best in the world. I think the ability to win in multiple rule sets across multiple platforms, that's a different level than being perfect at one rule set and one scoring system. You need to be able to do everything.
I 100% agree. They actually had a few full EBI matches on the card. And one of them was Danielle Kelly and Grace Gundrum. Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched that. That was a very, very good match. And Grace Gundrum got her black belt from Eddie Bravo after the match, which was pretty cool.
She's incredible. So she trains at 10th Planet Bethlehem, and I've trained up there a couple times. Those guys, they've had that school I think since they were purple belts, but they're the real fucking deal. And that girl's been training with them since she was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And
which was the last time you would have had a chance to beat her in a match, when she was 10.
Well, okay.
See, now he's not red from sunburn, he's red from anger.
That's not true. She's incredible. And Danielle Kelly, she's a world champ. She's incredible too. That was a great match all the way around.
When they first announced that match, that was sort of like more of a news story than the actual overtime shootout they were doing, was because it was these two girls who are at the top of the game right now, and the match was very exciting. I know Danielle Kelly was posting on social media and stuff that she wasn't happy with the match. And spoiler alert, if you're going to go back and rewatch it, Grace Gundrum did beat her. But I thought it was a good match. I thought it was exciting.
Yeah, so a couple things. I think it got attention because Grace hadn't competed in a while. She was I think one of the last times she competed, Eddie Bravo put together a team for Quintet.
Quintet, yeah.
And she was like 16 or 7, but she was out there competing with these grown women. Like Liz Carmouche was on the team, and I forget who they competed against, but she was holding her own. Again, she's incredible. But
I actually posted the other day on our Patreon. There was one section of that match where there was so much happening, where Grace was attacking a heel hook with like a weird modified grip, and Danielle was defending, and it was a lot of back and forth. So if you want to see like a technique breakdown of that, you can go on our Patreon, and everyone I think at the purple belt tier and above gets that as part of the Patreon package. But it was a great match. It was a lot of fun to watch.
It was a great match, and like here's another thing too. I probably should have said this when we were talking about rule sets and whatnot. The one downfall, or an argument that can be made against the EBI rule set is that you could be dominating a match the entire time, and then you can lose in overtime.
Yeah.
Through like fastest escape or quickest submission, or by just getting us up, or by getting sub. With that being said, I think that if you were judging the regulation time during that match before the overtime period, I thought Grace was winning that. So
yeah,
that
hypothetical of you could be losing the match but win the overtime. I don't think that's what happened here. I don't think that's not what you're saying happened here either. I think Grace was winning that match. I think those two will compete again against each other because I don't think either of them is going anywhere. So I'll be excited the next time they announce that match is going to happen again.
Yeah, but I mean, you would just have to think based on her age and how rapidly she's improving that Grace is just going to continue to get better and better and better to the point where it's, the gap is going to widen between her and the rest of the women in this world.
Between her and everybody, yeah. Well, one of the benefits to recording a little bit later in the week was yesterday there was some breaking news that they're doing another one of those Who's Number One events on Flow Grappling.
Yeah.
And it's July 31st. And we'll talk about each of these three matches, but it's Gary Tonan versus Dante Leon, Craig Jones versus Hulk Barbosa, Gordon Ryan versus Ronaldo Jr., and that's 3 matches on one night of studs. So first of all, we can look first at, I think the main event is the Gordon Ryan match. Ronaldo Jr., he won Worlds in gi and no gi in 2019 as a brown belt. This is sort of his like black belt.
Yeah, he just got his black belt. He's been talking shit to Gordon Ryan for months.
And actual shit, not just someone who commented on Gordon's Instagram post and Gordon got mad.
Yeah. He's been talking shit for months. Gordon's offered to pay him like $10,000 on top of whatever he's getting for this if he subs him. And Tom DeBlass, I think, offered to pay him $15,000 if he subs Gordon.
I think he could do it. I don't think he's gonna, but he could. He could.
Stop.
There's a difference between he could and he will. He could.
How about he may? And using that term as loosely as possible.
My official prediction would be that Gordon Ryan is going to win, but he could. I think he could. Put that on the record.
Are you saying that in the sense that anybody could beat anybody on any given day?
No, you can't beat Gordon Ryan, but I can't beat Gordon Ryan. But
I think you and I versus Gordon Ryan, I think 7 out of 10 times we win.
2-on-1.
Yeah, no, at the same time.
I try to steal your punchline there.
I think 6 or 7 times out of 10, you and I versus Gordon Ryan, I think we win at the same time.
Okay, that might be generous to us, but we can figure it out. Gordon Ryan, get at us.
Yeah, if Ronaldo gets scared, the two of us will.
Yeah, I'll split that money with you for the $25K between Gordon and Tom. They have to pay us out too, right?
We'll be like the hyenas from The Lion King.
I don't think it worked out too good for them in the end, though.
Not in the end, but it'll like
right in the middle.
Right
in the middle, yeah. The other match, Craig Jones versus Hulk Barbosa. Yeah, that's Craig's first match since the verbal tap incident that we talked about with Mason in the last episode. He's gonna be hungry after that whole debacle to come out and put on a good show. And it's Craig Jones. He's always fucking Craig Jones. So
Barbosa, I don't think gets all the credit that he deserves.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's gonna be. I think the whole match is gonna be Hulk's gonna be trying to smash pass through Craig. And Craig's going to be looking to counter that smash passing with getting underneath and setting up the leg entanglements. I think it's going to be just a question of who can implement the game better. Craig, when people smash pass on Craig's very good at getting underneath and creating space to attack the legs. It's just going to be who gets the job done fastest, I think.
It'll be a judge's decision. I don't think Hulk's going to submit him, and I don't think Gordon Ryan didn't submit him. and it's not an EBI. In an EBI format, maybe. But I think it's going to be a decision.
We also have the world's most exciting grappler, Gary Tonan, is now back competing again, and it's Gary Tonan versus Dante Leon, and this is a rematch from the last ADCC in the bronze medal match, and Gary won that.
Yeah, so and Dante Leon he's a stud. He won No-Gi Worlds as a black belt. If you ever look at his Instagram page, he's strong as a fucking bull, man. He's lifting weights. He's squatting like 500 pounds in some of these states. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They had a great match at Abu Dhabi. That bracket was stacked.
Yeah, that was a pretty deep bracket.
But Dante is a stud. He's somehow he's affiliated with that Daisy Fresh crew too.
And they just keep winning. They keep winning all these matches.
Yeah, they're animals.
Yeah,
they are. I actually watched something on them the other day about like a training session. And he even said, he's like, we train like this is the World Championships every night. He's like, if you want to work on technique, don't come to one of these classes. Like, our gym's open all day. You can come in here and train and drill technique all day long. But when these classes come around, he's like, we're training 100%. Like, we are going full speed. So
that's how it's got to be. There is a clear division between people who are training as a hobby and people who are training for fun and just trying to get better, and the people who are trying to win as many professional matches as possible. Like, there is a division. You can't train the same. That just doesn't work.
That's why I've always been an advocate of like comp team training.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the different goals and everything, if you got a guy who's in there just, he's not doing, if he's trying to get into shape, he's not necessarily doing, for these guys what they need, and they're going 100 miles per hour, and it might not be what he needs, but like, these are things that,
there's something to be said for you show up to train for a big match, a super fight, a competition, and you're only rolling against guys who have the same goals in that training session. Because if you roll against someone when you're preparing for a super fight and they're just preparing for Thursday night to roll, they're not going to come at you with the same level of intensity. And you can work on your stuff, but you're not going to get the same rounds if you're not training against people who have the same goals on that same night.
Right. I agree.
On Saturday, we have the UFC fights, and a fight that I've been waiting for a long time is Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker.
Right.
And it's another case of when we talked about the Max versus Volkanovski fight, where I really like both guys. Like, I want Darren Till to win because I think he's been more active, and you know me, if you listen to this show, I like the guys who are more active and sort of on their way up. I really, really like Robert Whittaker. I think he was a good champion. I'm pulling for Till, but you can't go wrong with either guy winning.
So, this is Whittaker's first fight, right?
Yeah, he lost to Adesanya back in October, which feels like they just fought, but it was all the way back in October of 2019.
So this is his first fight since then.
He's been fighting like once a year. He fought Romero in 2017, he fought Romero in 2018, and then he fought Adesanya in 2019. So
whoever wins this fight, I can see facing the winner of Adesanya and Paulo Costa.
Yeah. That's going to be a good fight, and we'll talk about more as that fight gets closer. I think Adesanya wins that fight, but that opinion might change when we get closer to our preview episode for those fights. But I agree. I think that this is clearly a winner gets next shot fight.
They're not fucking around with Darren Till either. Like, this is like, he hasn't had any. He started with Gastelum, and now it's Robert Whittaker. And if he wins this, I think that they're gonna push him into another title shot.
Well, I remember when they first announced the Gastelum fight that I think we were both kind of like, this is not a good fight for Darren Till, 185, and then he put on a great performance against Gastelum. Gastelum was the victim of one of 2 leg lock submissions in a UFC fight night last Saturday. Just know how to defend your legs, folks. I'm just telling you, like, that was that was just bad defense. He had no idea what to do, and you should if you're fighting in the UFC. And
yeah,
Till had a great fight against Gastelum. If he beats Whittaker, I think you're right. I think it's clearly okay. You got Adesanya or Paulo Costa. We also have a couple fights on this card that I would consider like quote unquote Bellator fights, and the one would be Shogun versus Little Nog, and it's basically just a like, hey, we got these two guys from back in the day who neither is going to be a champion, and they both have not really had success recently, but we all know their names from back in the Pride days, so we'll have them fight. And
yeah, I like Little Nog has to be what 42, 43 years old.
Yeah, he's not a young fella.
Shogun's probably like 38. It's depressing because I remember when Shogun won the Grand Prix when he was like 23 years old in Pride.
Yeah.
But Little Nog has already come out and said that this is his last fight. He's going to retire, which he should.
Which I thought he was retired for like 2 years.
So did now. I didn't know he was fighting anymore.
Yeah. It's just a circus fight. I know I don't like use the word circus fight because it's kind of like demeaning to both guys. And I know I already said this is like a Bellator whatever fight.
But they're getting the most out of their names. Like everybody benefits in a sense, maybe except for the fans. The UFC gets some play off of their names, and these guys get to make some scratch.
Yeah, make some money before you ride off into the sunset, where we already thought you had ridden off to the sunset. One more payday.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. I think Shogun wins. That's my official prediction.
Yeah, I believe Shogun wins too. Official prediction. We didn't do official predictions with Gastelum and Whittaker.
Oh, my official prediction is Till.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Gastelum and Whittaker. Till and Whittaker.
I knew what you meant.
I'm still on beach time.
Yeah. Are you jet lagged from your travel? Is that
what's jet lagged? You mean that my back hurts being crammed in a car for a total of 6 hours over the past 2 days?
Official prediction for Till versus Whittaker is Darren Till.
I'll say Till. I think, yeah.
Okay.
It was a tough decision. I was on the fence, and I'm in the same boat with you as I like both of these guys. I don't really like to see either one of them lose, but I just think that, Till's going to take it. He's been a little bit more active.
I think he's got the best shot to be a champion again to be a champion out of the two of these guys. So
we'll see. Yeah.
And your official prediction for Shogun versus Little Nog is
Shogun.
Okay, so we're 2 for 2 on the same here. Let's see if we get we got a few more fights to have an argument. Another fight that has actual more relevance and implication is the Carla Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez fight.
Yeah.
Esparza's got 3 straight wins, and I know. So a fun thing about Carla Esparza is one of the first fights that my wife watched, and it was when JJ beat her for the title.
Yeah.
And I remember, maybe it wasn't one of her first fights. It was early on. It was early on when we were dating, and
that was okay. Well, that was her first defense. Like she beat.
Yeah.
Didn't she beat Rose in the finals?
Like on the show, the Ultimate Fighter.
On the show to win the title.
Yeah. It's to this day, it's the only time we've been watching fights, and Amanda has said to me, I can't watch this. I have to turn this off because JJ just butchered her face.
Yeah, she brutalized her.
So I always think of Amanda Jean when I think about Carla Esparza because Amanda watches all the fights now with me, and it's the only time she's ever been like, we got to turn this off.
She took some time off after that, but I honestly thought after she fought JJ that was like a career killing fight.
Yeah, you're done. Like that was peak JJ. That was peak JJ.
Yeah, and she brutalized her.
And then Marina Rodriguez, she has 2 draws on her record, but she's 12-0-2. Like she's a good young fighter. And Carla Esparza coming off 3 wins. Like I don't think this is not like the Till versus Whittaker fight where the winner gets the next shot. This is, I think, the winner gets the next shot. The winner of this fight gets put in the position Till and Whittaker are in. So if they win this fight, they win one more, they'll get a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rose is next in line. No.
Yeah, but this is a fight that has big implications, and it's two fighters who are streaking. So let's see who continues the streak and who takes a little bit of a setback. But We also have another, so we're sort of alternating between like really good important fights and not so important fights. The Verdum versus Gustafsson fight.
Well, I don't think, like, I think that this could be a big thing in the sense of it's Gustafsson's first fight at heavyweight. So, like,
that's all it is. That's
right.
all it is.
And this is an experiment, and let's see how it goes. Like, because he is so fucking big that this, maybe being up there and being as big as he is, maybe this is a good move for him.
It is. It's a good move for him, especially he's got back-to-back losses. He's fighting Verdum, who also has back-to-back losses. Move up to heavyweight. Let's see how he is at heavyweight. I think that's all this fight is. It's a will heavyweight work out for Gustafsson.
Yeah, and let's put him in there with a known name who's been around the game long enough. We'll see. I don't know. Like, I think Gustafsson holds the edge in the striking. I think that obviously if this hits the ground that...
Yeah, it's for Doom all day, but...
Yeah.
Do you think it hits the ground? I don't know. We didn't do predictions. We're bad at giving our predictions. We didn't give our predictions for the Esparza-Rodriguez fight. My prediction is Rodriguez.
I think Rodriguez is going to win. We eventually have to disagree on one of these fights.
I know. Well, right now, I'm going to go against the grain, I think, and pick Verdum to win this fight.
I think Gustafsson's going to win. However, I want to put my prediction out there with this little caveat being, if the fight hits the ground, I don't think that Gustafsson's going to have an answer for Verdum.
I don't think when you go to the bookie, you can say, "Hey, I want to lay my money on Gustafsson so long as the fight doesn't hit the ground."
Well,
I don't think there's any caveats allowed.
Maybe not the bookie, but maybe the sports book, because bookies are illegal, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you gotta use FanDuel. All right, maybe you can't call up FanDuel, the president at FanDuel.
You don't know how many fucking prop bets you can do on FanDuel. There's a lot of.
All right,
FanDuel.
if someone's listening and can find a prop bet on FanDuel that lets you bet whether or not.
I'm joking. But I think so. Here's the deal: if it goes to the ground, Verdum's going to win. But Jones and Cormier both had difficulty. Getting Gustafsson to the ground, and they are both much better wrestlers than Verdum is. They're not. Neither one of them are nearly as good on the ground as Verdum is, but they are much better wrestlers than Verdum is, and they had difficulty taking Alexander Gustafsson down. So Gustafsson even took Jones down at one point.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right, well, let's do this because we weren't really good about listing our predictions as we were talking about the actual fights. I'm just going to run down my predictions as I'm looking at them, okay? So my predictions are Darren Till, Shogun, Verdum, Rodriguez.
And I am Darren Till, Shogun, Gustafsson, and Rodriguez.
Okay, nice and clear. That way everyone can follow along at home and make sure when you place your bets, you tag us and show us your bet slip so we can take some of the credit and some of the winnings.
Not with a bookie, with a legal sports book though.
Easy, officer.
Yeah, we don't promote illegal gambling on this show. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at that_jiu-jitsu_podcast. And don't forget, you can watch the video version of any of our episodes on YouTube. You just have to go on YouTube and search That Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at m_Callahan106.
You can follow me directly at Justin Lesko. And I mentioned it earlier, I just put up a new technique breakdown on our Patreon. There's a lot of bonus content there that you don't get just by subscribing to this feed. So check it out at patreon.com/thatjujitsupodcast. And if you sign up to follow us on Patreon, right now we're sending out free t-shirts to anyone who signs up. So give it a look. Say thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.